In today's video, we are going to look at the confrontational approach to coaching. Haley and Emily are going to walk us through how to use this approach as a coach and as a guide, and then I will narrate at different points to point out things that you should pay attention to as the mentor if you're using this approach.
So Haley, last time we talked, you set a goal to connect better with your students. Do you have any experiences from the past few weeks that can help us explore around this goal?
I do. I have a student who I'm having difficulty connecting with. It feels like no matter what I do, I can't seem to connect with her.
Okay. So I'd like to ask you about the approaches you're using to connect. Can you think of one specific instance for us to look at together?
So at this point, instead of letting Haley go down a rabbit hole of using statements like always and never, we want to pick one specific instance and figure out what is the disconnect happening, what are the emotions happening. So when you're given a situation like this, try to get as specific as possible and focus on one experience instead of having the guide just explain all the scenarios they've had with this child.
Yeah, so last week she was struggling during Conquer, and I went up to her and asked her if she needed help, and then she turned around to me and said, "I hate math, I wish I didn't have to come here." So I responded, "Yeah, math is hard, I get it. But if you keep working at it, it'll get easier." And then she just rolled her eyes at me and went back to her computer.
Okay. Can we explore your interaction with the student a bit more?
Sure.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you went up to her because you noticed she was struggling. How did you notice? Was it her body language? Did she verbalize her frustration or something else?
So notice here that before diving into the conversation, the mentor is repeating back her interpretation to make sure she understands the situation fully.
So she was getting distracted, she was fidgeting around in her seat and looking around at the other students.
Okay. So when you approached her and asked her for help, and she responded with, "I hate math and wish I didn't have to come here," what did you think she was feeling?
Ooh, probably frustration, embarrassment, maybe some anxiety.
Yeah. So when you're frustrated or anxious or embarrassed, can you think how you would want people to respond to you?
And usually I just want them to listen and let me talk or tell me that it's okay.
Sure. So take a second and put yourself in her shoes. If math isn't a subject you struggle with, pick one that you do. So now imagine that you're really struggling and feeling all those same feelings she was. Looking at the response you gave, do you think she felt listened to? Would you in her shoes?
So notice here that the mentor does not tell the guide what she should have said. Instead, she asks the guide to reflect and come up with a different response herself. This empowers the guide to recognize that she has the tools within herself to solve her own problems.
Probably not. I imagine I'd feel more annoyed, like I was being given advice or that the guide doesn't really understand me or care about how I'm feeling. They just want me to do my work because it's easier for them.
So I want you to take a minute or so and really think about the response you could have given instead. And remember, we always seek first to connect. So try to go through this conversation again, putting yourself in her shoes and focusing on connection, not correction.
At this point, you would continue working with the guide until you feel like he or she is understanding how to have connective conversations. You may refer to the guide to the skills resources to review how to talk to kids or role play additional scenarios. That brings us to the end of this approach. One of the best tips I can give for the confrontational approach is it can be really difficult for a guide to receive feedback. So make sure you observe the facts and data and stick to those and ask for if you're understanding the interpretation instead of making assumptions. Okay, thank you guys so much.